Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Be sure to subscribe to our channel. We publish new videos every day. Don't forget, grab your smartphone and download the Lava Matra app and stay in touch. Guru Maharaj's message is your advantage. The following is a Sri Krishna Chaitanya book compilation given by His Holiness Jaya Pataka Swami Maharaj on November 12th, 2020 in Sri Mayapur, India.
Hangulang Gayate Garim Yachithatamahan Vande Sri Gurum Dinatadilam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Isram Hare Om Sat Sat.
Hare Krishna. Today we will continue with the compilation of the Sri Krishna Chaitanya book. Today's topic is entitled as Kshirachora Gopinath Gates the Sandalwood and Camphor by the instruction of Govardhanadhari Gopal to Madhavendra Puri.
পুরীর প্রতিষ্ঠা ভয় ও পুরীধাম যাত্রা। ঠাকুর আমাকে ক্ষীর দিল লোক সব শুনি, দিনে লোক ভিড় হবে মোর প্রতিষ্ঠা জানি।
Having broken the pork and bound the pieces in his cloth, Madhavendra Puri began to think, the Lord has given me a pot of sweet rice, and when the people hear of this, tomorrow morning there will be great crowds.
So, naturally, Madhavendra Puri, he realized that when people heard
So naturally, Madhavendra Puri, he could realize when people heard
the deity had taken the pot of here to give to him,
that the deity had taken the pot of kheer and to give it to him,
they would crowd to see him.
so there will be crowd to see him.
So he wanted to avoid that.
So he wanted to avoid that.
সেই ভয়ে রাত্রি শেষে চলিলা শ্রীপুরী, সেইখানে গোপীনাথে দণ্ডবত করি।
Thinking this, Sri Madhavendra Puri offered his obeisances to Gopinath on the spot and left Ramuna before morning.
পুরীধামে জগন্নাথ দর্শনে প্রেম, চলি চলি আইলা পুরী শ্রীনীলাচল, জগন্নাথ দেখি হইলা প্রেমেতে বিহল।
Walking and walking, Madhavendra Puri finally reached Jagannath Puri, which is known as Nilachala. There he saw Jagannatha and was overwhelmed with loving ecstasy.
So naturally, Madhavendra Puri would easily fall into ecstasy. Anything reminding him of Krishna.
Naturally, Madhavendra Puri would easily fall into ecstasy if anything easily reminds him of Krishna.
What the speaking of seeing is special deity of Lord Jagannath himself.
What of speaking of seeing the special deity of Lord Jagannath himself?
He was overwhelmed in transcendental ecstasy
He was overwhelmed in transcendental ecstasy
of pure love.
of pure love.
হেমাবেশে উঠে পড়ে হাসে নাচে গায়, জগন্নাথ দর্শনে মহাসুখ পায়।
When Madhavendra Puri was overwhelmed in ecstasy of love of Godhead, he sometimes stood up and sometimes fell to the ground. Sometimes he laughed, danced, and sang. In this way, he enjoyed transcendental bliss by seeing the Jagannatha deity.
So, pure devotee taste extreme bliss and ecstasy
So, if the pure devotee tastes extreme bliss and ecstasy
in serving the deity,
in serving the deity,
seeing Lord Jagannath is also a type of service.
so seeing Jagannath is also a type of service.
So he was overwhelmed in spiritual bliss.
So he was overwhelmed in spiritual bliss.
A devotee should also follow in the footsteps of Madhavendra Puri and reach the stage of Krishna Prema.
So the devotees also should follow the footsteps of Madhavendra Puri and reach to the stage of Krishna Prema.
They will feel his unlimited ecstasy and bliss in seeing the Lord.
So they will feel unlimited spiritual ecstasy, bliss in seeing the Lord. Unlimited bliss of spiritual ecstasy in seeing the Lord.
প্রতিষ্ঠা না চাইল পুরীর প্রতিষ্ঠা মাধবপুরী শ্রীপাদ আইল লোকে হইল খ্যাতি সব লোক আসি তারে করে বহু ভক্তি
When Madhavendra Puri came to Jagannath Puri, people were aware of his transcendental reputation. Therefore, crowds of people came and offered him all sorts of respect and devotion.
প্রতিষ্ঠার স্বভাবে জগতে বিদিত যে না বাঞ্ছে তার হয় বিধাতা নির্মিত
Even though one may not like it, reputation as ordained by providence comes to him. Indeed, one's transcendental reputation is known throughout the entire world.
Although the devotee does not particularly desire reputation,
Although the devotee does not particularly desire reputation,
he wants to serve the Lord.
he wants to serve the Lord.
But by will of providence, sometimes he gets reputation.
But by the will of providence, sometimes he gets reputation.
And therefore he is respected.
Therefore, he is respected.
This was the situation of Madhavendra Puri.
So, this was the situation of Madhavendra Puri.
Although he did not desire reputation,
Although he did not desire reputation,
but it came to him
but it came to him
automatically by the will of providence.
automatically by the will of providence.
প্রতিষ্ঠার ভয়ে পুরী রহে পালাইয়া কৃষ্ণ প্রেমে প্রতিষ্ঠা চলে সঙ্গে গড়াইয়া
Being afraid of his reputation, Pratishtha, Madhavendra Puri fled from Ramuna. But the reputation brought by love of Godhead is so sublime that it goes along with the devotee as if following him. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Almost all the conditioned souls within the material world are envious. Jealous people generally turn against one who automatically attains some reputation. This is natural for jealous people. Consequently, when a devotee is fit to receive worldly reputation, he is envied by many people. This is quite natural. When a person out of humility does not desire fame, people generally think him quite humble and consequently give him all kinds of fame. Actually, a Vaishnava does not hanker after fame or a great reputation. Madhavendra Puri, the king of Vaishnavas, bore his reputation, but he wanted to keep himself outside of the vision of the general populace. He wanted to cover his real identity as a devotee of the Lord. But when people saw him overwhelmed in the ecstasy of love of Godhead, they naturally gave credit to him. Actually, a first-class reputation is due Madhavendra Puri because he was a most confidential devotee of the Lord. Sometimes a Sahajiya presents himself as being void of desire for reputation, pratishtha, pratishtha, in order to become famous as a humble man. Such people cannot actually attain the platform of celebrated Vaishnavas.
There's a story, Haridas Thakur, he was chanting the holy names.
The story of Haridas Thakur, he was chanting the holy name.
There was a snake charmer that was playing on his flute. He sang pastime of Kaliya and Krishna.
So there was a snake charmer. He was playing on his flute the past and singing the pastime of Kaliya and Krishna, playing the pastime of Kaliya and Krishna.
Hearing that, Haridas Thakur became filled with ecstasy.
Hearing that, Haridas Thakur became filled with ecstasy
And fainted on the ground.
and fainted on the ground.
People came and offered their obeisances.
And people came and offered their obeisances to him.
Then he got up and he left.
But then he got up and he left.
There was a Brahmana who was an astrologer.
There was a Brahmana who was an astrologer,
He was sitting with his parrot and the tarot cards.
and he was sitting with his parrot and kind of
Tarot cards.
tarot cards.
Well, the parrot would take the card, and thus he would tell people's fortune.
So the parrot will take the card and thus he will tell people's fortune.
But this Brahmana, he saw how people were bowing down to Haridas Thakur.
So this Brahmana, he was seeing how people were bowing down to Haridas Thakur.
He became jealous.
He became jealous.
He wanted to get to also respect.
So he also wanted to get the respect.
I imitated Haridas Thakur chanting
So he imitated Haridas Thakur's chanting
and fell on the ground.
and he fell onto the ground.
That people would offer him obeisances.
So that people would offer him obeisances.
But the snake charmer, he could understand that Haridas Thakur was really in ecstasy.
But the snake charmer, he could understand that Haridas Thakur was really in ecstasy.
That this Brahman was just cheating the people.
And this Brahmin was cheating the people.
He said, well, if he is really in ecstasy,
So,
I kick him, he won't react.
so he said that if he is really in ecstasy, if I kick him, he won't react.
And he went there and kicked him in the butt.
So he went there and kicked him in the butt.
And he started screaming and ran off.
And he said, ah, and started to scream and ran off.
And he said, see, he's cheating you.
So he said, see, he's cheating you.
He's offending Haridas Thakur.
He's offending Haridas Thakur.
And then all the people chased him with sticks.
Then all the people chased him with sticks.
So this thing is there that materialistic people envy of pure devotees' reputation.
So the thing that I wanted to say here that materialistic people, they envy of pure devotees' reputation.
They want to get such a reputation. They want to get respect.
So they want to get such reputation and they want to get such respect.
But the difference between that type of imitation and a real devotee.
So that is the difference between that type of imitation and a real devotee.
প্রতিষ্ঠা স্থলে থাকিতে না চাইলেও প্রভু সেবা অর্থ অবস্থান যদ্যপি উদ্বেগ হইল পলাইতে মন ঠাকুরের চন্দন সাধন হইল বন্ধন.
Madhavendra Puri wanted to leave Jagannath Puri because the people were honoring him as a great devotee. However, this threatened to hinder his collecting sandalwood for the Gopal deity.
So Madhavendra Puri, his decay was to get sandalwood or Gopal deity.
So Madhavendra Puri's reason to came was to get the sandalwood for the Gopal deity.
Now the devotional service was paramount.
So the devotional service was paramount.
And so they had to tolerate his pratishta
So he had to tolerate his pratishta
to realize his devotional service.
to realize his devotional service.
জগন্নাথ সেবকগণকে গোপালের অভিপ্রায় জ্ঞাপন। জগন্নাথের সেবক যত যতেক মহন্ত, সবাকে কইল গোপাল বৃত্তান্ত।
Sri Madhavendra Puri told all the servant of Lord Jagannath and all the great devotees there the story of the appearance of Sri Gopal.
ভক্তগণে নানাভাবে চন্দন সংগ্রহের যত্ন। গোপাল চন্দন মাগে শুনি ভক্তগণ, আনন্দে চন্দন লাগি করিল যতন।
When all the devotees at Jagannath Puri heard that Gopal deity wanted sandalwood, in great pleasure they all endeavored to collect it.
All the devotees in Jagannath Puri, they wanted to collect sandalwood for studying the Gopal deity.
So all the devotees in Jagannath Puri, they wanted to collect sandalwood to serve the Gopal deity.
Naturally, the devotees want to serve the desire of the Lord.
Naturally, the devotees want to serve the desire of the Lord.
রাজপাত্র শনে যার যার পরিচয়, তারে মাগে কর্পূর চন্দন করিলা সঞ্চয়।
Those who were acquainted with government officers met with them and begged for camphor and sandalwood, which they collected. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. It appears that Malayaja, Chandan, sandalwood and camphor were used for the Jagannath deity. The camphor was used in his Aratrika and the sandalwood was used to smear his body. Both these items were under government control. Therefore, the devotees had to meet with the government official, informing them of all the details. They attained permission to take the sandalwood and camphor outside Jagannath Puri.
Since the Gajapati Maharaj, the king of Orissa,
So, since the Gajapati Maharaj, the king of Orissa,
was responsible for the deity worship of Lord Jagannath,
was responsible for the deity worship of Lord Jagannath,
the sandalwood and camphor being very valuable are under his control.
so the sandalwood and camphor being very valuable were under his control.
But when his officers heard the story of Gopal deity,
So when his officers heard the story of the Gopal deity,
they gave some sandalwood and camphor to Madhavendra Puri.
so they gave some sandalwood and camphor to Madhavendra Puri,
So he could take it to Vrindavan, to Govardhan.
so he could take it to Vrindavan, to Govardhan.
লোকসহ চন্দন দিয়া পুরীকে প্রেরণ। এক বিপ্র এক সেবক চন্দন বহিতে, পুরী গোসাইয়ের সঙ্গে দিল সম্বল সহিতে।
One Brahmana and one servant were given to Madhavendra Puri just to carry sandalwood. He was also given the necessary travelling expenses.
As we heard, Lord Chaitanya went to Jagannath Puri.
As we heard, when Lord Chaitanya went to Jagannath Puri,
Various toll officers tried to collect toll on the devotees.
various toll officers were trying to collect toll from the devotees.
So if you're going with the sandalwood and camphor,
So they are going with the sandalwood and camphor.
naturally they'll be accosted by the toll collectors.
So naturally it will be accosted by the toll collectors.
They need money to travel.
So they need money to travel.
That was also provided.
So that was also provided.
নিরাপদে গমন জন্য ছাড়পত্র দান ঘাটি দানি ছাড়াইতে রাজপত্র দ্বারে রাজ লেখা করে দিল পুরী গোসাই করে
To get past the toll collectors along the way, Madhavendra Puri was supplied with the necessary release papers from the government officers. The papers were placed in his hand.
Madhavendra Puri had the papers of the officers in Orissa.
So Madhavendra Puri had the papers from the officers in Orissa.
How he'll get to Bengal and all the other states.
And how he'll get through Bengal and all the other states to Vrindavan
That's a question.
is a question.
রেমুনাতে উপস্থিতি ও গোপীনাথ দর্শনের নৃত্য গীত চলিল মাধবপুরী চন্দন লইয়া কত দিনে রেমুনাতে উত্তরিল গিয়া
In this way, Madhavendra Puri started for Vrindavana with the burden of sandalwood, and after some days he again reached the village of Remuna and the Gopinath temple there.
গোপীনাথ চরণে কইল বহু নমস্কার প্রেমাবেশে নৃত্য গীত করিল অপার
When Madhavendra Puri reached the temple of Gopinath, he offered his respectful obeisances many times at the lotus feet of the Lord. In the ecstasy of love, he began to dance and sing without cessation.
You can see that such advanced devotees like Madhavendra Puri
So we can see that such advanced devotees like Madhavendra Puri
were engaged in singing the Hare Krishna mantra and dancing.
were engaged in singing the Hare Krishna mantra and dancing.
And we can also sing the Maha mantra and dance in ecstasy.
If we can also sing the Maha mantra and dance in ecstasy,
Gradually we can achieve the stage of pure love.
and gradually we can achieve the stage of pure love.
পুরী দেখি সেবক সব সম্মান করিলা ক্ষীর প্রসাদ দিয়া তারে ভিক্ষা করাইলা
When the priest of Gopinath saw Madhavendra Puri again, he offered all respects to him, and giving him the sweet rice prasadam, made him eat.
স্বপ্নে পুরীকে গোপাল কর্তৃক গোপীনাথের শ্রী অঙ্গে চন্দন লেপনের জন্য আদেশ সেই রাত্রে দেবালয়ে করিল শয়ন শেষ রাত্রি হইল পুরী দেখিল স্বপন
Madhavendra Puri took rest that night in the temple, but toward the end of the night he had another dream.
গোপাল আসিয়া কহে শুনহ মাধব কর্পূর চন্দন আমি পাইলাম সব
Madhavendra Puri dreamed that Gopal came before him and said, "Oh, Madhavendra Puri, I have already received all the sandalwood and camphor."
কর্পূর সহিত ঘষি এসব চন্দন গোপীনাথের অঙ্গে সব করহ লেপন
Now just grind all the sandalwood together with the camphor and then smear the pulp on the body of Gopinath daily until it is finished.
গোপীনাথ আমার সে একই অঙ্গ হয় ইহাকে চন্দন দিলে আমার তাপ ক্ষয়
There is no difference between my body and Gopinath's body. They are one and the same. Therefore, if you smear the sandalwood pulp on the body of Gopinath, you will naturally also smear it on my body. Thus, the temperature of my body will be reduced. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Gopal was situated in Vrindavan, which was far from Remuna. In those days, one had to pass through provinces governed by the Muslims, who sometimes hindered travelers. Considering the trouble of his devotee, Lord Gopal, the greatest well-wisher of his devotees, ordered Madhavendra Puri to smear the sandalwood pulp on the body of Gopinath, which was non-different from the body of Gopal. In this way, the Lord relieved Madhavendra Puri from trouble and inconvenience.
Cross all these different provinces have been greatly difficult for Madhavendra.
So, to cross all these different provinces would have been greatly difficult for Madhavendra Puri.
But he was willing to do that.
But he was willing to do that.
Lord Gopal, desiring his welfare of his devotee,
So Lord Gopal, desiring the welfare of his devotee,
ordered Madhavendra Puri to smear the sandalwood pulp on the body of Gopinath.
ordered Madhavendra Puri to smear the sandalwood pulp on the body of Gopinath,
which is not different from the Lord.
which is not different from the Lord Gopal.
দ্বিধা না ভাবিও না করিহ কিছু মনে, বিশ্বাস করি চন্দন দেহ আমার বচনে।
You should not hesitate to act according to my order. Believing in me, just do what is needed.
সেবকগণকে গোপালের আজ্ঞা জ্ঞাপন। এত বলি গোপাল গেল, গোসাই জাগিল, গোপীনাথের সেবকগণে ডাকিয়া আনিল।
After giving these instructions, Gopal disappeared and Madhavendra Puri awoke. He immediately called for all the servants of Gopinath and they came before him.
প্রভুর আজ্ঞা হইল এই কর্পূর চন্দন, গোপীনাথের অঙ্গে নিত্য করহ লেপন।
Madhavendra Puri said, "Smear the body of Gopinath with this camphor and sandalwood I have brought for Gopal in Vrindavan. Do this regularly every day."
ইহাকে চন্দন দিলে গোপাল হইবেন শীতল, স্বতন্ত্র ঈশ্বর তার আজ্ঞা সে প্রবল।
If the sandalwood pulp is smeared over the body of Gopinath, then Gopal will be cooled. After all, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is completely independent. His order is all powerful.
So, since the Lord is one, he can do anything.
So, since the Lord is one, He can do anything.
And offering the sandalwood pulp, the Gopinath deity in Remuna,
And offering the sandalwood pulp on Gopinath deity in Remuna
can cool the Gopal deity in Vrindavan.
can cool the Gopal deity in Vrindavan.
Whoever the people are, they would chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra,
Wherever the people are, if they chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra,
by chanting the names of the Lord,
But-
of the Supreme Lord,
by chanting the names of the Supreme Lord,
they also invoke the transcendental pleasure of the Lord.
they also will invoke the transcendental pleasure of the Lord.
That's why Lord Chaitanya's mission in the Hare Krishna movement to get everyone to chant the name of the Supreme Lord.
Therefore, Lord Chaitanya's and the Hare Krishna movement's mission is to get everyone to chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra.
বিশ্বকালে গোপীনাথ পরিবে চন্দন, শুনি আনন্দিত হইল সেবকের মন।
The servants of Gopinath became very pleased to hear that in the summer all the sandalwood pulp would be used to anoint the body of Gopinath.
সঙ্গীদয়কে চন্দন ঘর্ষণে নিয়োগ। পুরী কয় হে এই দুই ঘষিবে চন্দন, আর জনা দুই দেহ দিবে যে বেতন।
Madhavendra Puri said, "These two assistants will regularly grind the sandalwood, and you should also get two other people to help. I shall pay their salaries."
This way, Madhavendra Puri used the traveling expense money
So, in this way, Madhavendra Puri used the traveling expenses money
to pay the salary for those who would grind the sandalwood.
to pay salary for those who grind the sandalwood.
পুরীর কথা মতো সেবকগণের সাহায্যে চন্দন লেপন। এই মতো চন্দন দেয় প্রত্যাহ ঘষিয়া, পরায় সেবক সব আনন্দ করিয়া।
In this way, Gopinath ji was supplied ground sandalwood pulp daily. The servants of Gopinath were very pleased with this.
সমগ্র গ্রীষ্মকালে চন্দন শেষ পর্যন্ত পুরীর রেমুনায় অবস্থান। প্রত্যাহ চন্দন পরায় যাবৎ হইল অন্ত, তথায় রহিল পুরী তাবৎ পর্যন্ত।
In this way, the sandalwood pulp was smeared over the body of Gopinath until the whole stock was finished. Madhavendra Puri stayed there until that time.
Madhavendra Puri wanted to fulfill his obligation to Gopal.
So Madhavendra Puri wanted to fulfill his obligation to Gopal.
Since Gopal has ordered to smear the sandalwood pulp on Gopinath deity,
Since Gopal had ordered to smear the sandalwood pulp on the Gopinath deity,
and then Madhavendra Puri stayed there until the stock was finished.
so Madhavendra Puri stayed there until the stock was finished.
পুরীর নীলাচলে চাতুর্মাস্য যাপন। গ্রীষ্মকাল অন্তে পুনঃ নীলাচলে গেলা, নীলাচলে চাতুর্মাস্য আনন্দে রহিলা।
At the end of summer, Madhavendra Puri returned to Jagannath Puri, where he remained with great pleasure during the whole period of Chatur Masya. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. The Chatur Masya period begins in the month of Ashada, June to July, from the day of Ekadasi called Shayana Ekadasi in the fourth night of the waxing moon. The period ends in the month of Kartika, October to November, on the Ekadasi day known as Utthana Ekadashi, in the fourth night of the waxing moon. This 4-month period is known as Chatur Masya. Some Vaishnavas also observe it from the full moon day of Ashada until the full moon day of Kartika. That is also a period of 4 months. This period calculated by the lunar months called Chatur Masya. But others also observe Chatur Masya according to the solar month from Shravana to Kartika. The whole period, either lunar or solar, takes place during the rainy season. Chaturmasya should be observed by all sections of the population. It does not matter whether one is a grahastha or a sannyasi. The observance is obligatory for all ashramas. The real purpose behind the vow taken during these 4 months is to minimize the quantity of self-gratification. This is not very difficult. In the month of Shravana, one should not eat spinach. In the month of Bhadra, one should not eat yogurt. And in the month of Ashvina, one should not drink milk. And one should not eat fish or other non-vegetarian food during the month of Kartika. A non-vegetarian diet means fish and meat. Similarly, Masura dal and Urad dal are also considered non-vegetarian. These two dals contain a great amount of protein, and food rich in protein is considered non-vegetarian. On the whole, during the 4-month period of Chaturmasya, one should practice giving up all food intended for sense enjoyment.
So, I observe the Chaturmasya from the Ekadasi to Ekadasi,
So I observe the Chaturmasya from Ekadasi to Ekadasi,
which is mentioned here.
which is mentioned here.
Most devotees do it from Purnima to Purnima.
Most devotees do it from Purnima to Purnima.
My Chaturmasya ends at the last Ekadasi of Kartik.
So my Chaturmasya ends at the last Ekadasi of Kartik.
Then I do the Bhishma Panchak
And then I will do the Bhishma Panchak
for 5 days.
for 5 days.
From Ekadasi to full moon.
From Ekadasi to full moon.
And that observe a fast of either Panchagavya, fruits and roots, or Havisanda.
So in that we observe a fast with Panchagavya, either fruits or roots, or either Havisanna.
So, and there are various procedures.
Anyway, there are various procedures.
So, in this way, Madhavendra Puri spent the 4 months of the rainy season in Jagannath Puri.
So in this way, Madhavendra Puri spent the 4 months of rainy season in Jagannath Puri.
And otherwise, the devotees, they observe these 4 dietary restrictions in these 4 months.
Otherwise, the devotees, they observe the 4 dietary restrictions in these 4 months.
So, Prabhupada said this is for all the ashrams.
So as Prabhupada said, this is for all the ashrams.
So this should be followed by all the ISKCON devotees throughout the world.
So this should be followed by all the ISKCON devotees throughout the world.
And thus you'll fulfill the desire of Srila Prabhupada.
And thus we can fulfill the desires of Srila Prabhupada. Thus ends the chapter. Kshirachora Gopinatha gets the sandalwood and camphor by the instruction of Govardhanadhari Gopal to Madhavendra Puri.
Do you like our ad-free videos? Be sure to subscribe to our channel. We publish new videos every day, and don't forget to like and share our channel.